Hey everybody, this is Rycard here again, back with another black and white Pokemon upgrade. Today, we actually have a lot to cover on Altaria because of the really cool boosts that it gets this generation. So let's get started. So first off, compared to the other dragons, Altaria is actually one of the bulkiest dragons, but not the most powerful. Now it has 75 HP coupled with 90 defense and 105 special defense, so as you can see it is very capable of taking quite a bit of hits from the physical or special side depending on how you EV it and things like that. But one great thing also about Altaria that I got this generation was the ability Cloud 9, which if you don't know what it is an ability that cancels out weather effects when you are on the field. So basically, if your opponent has rain on the field, like caused by Drizzle Politoed or something like that, when you come in with Cloud 9 as your ability, the rain actually no longer is occurring at the time. So Pokemon that benefit from rain, such as Swift Swimmers and things like that, won't actually be getting their Swift Swim boost because of Cloud 9 being in effect on your side. So this can actually turn Altaria into a pretty interesting attacker this generation, but also on the defensive side, it gets a really awesome new move known as Cotton Guard, which I will get to now in the first set. So as you can see, the idea behind this set is to make Altaria as bulky as possible. So first, we're going to give it a Calm Nature to increase its special defense and lower its physical attack, and then we're going to be using its ability Natural Cure. As for the EVs, we're going to put 252 into HP to give you your max HP, 4 for special attack for 1 point into that, and then 252 EVs in your special defense to give you your max special defense possible. And as for the item, we're going to be using leftovers since it'll allow us to recover a little bit of HP at the end of every turn. Now as for the moves in the set, the first one we're going to make use of is either going to be Dragon Breath or Dragon Pulse. Dragon Breath is weaker than Dragon Pulse by 30 power, but it does have the added chance of paralysis, which could come in handy if you want to have Altaria being able to, paralyze your opponent. As for the next move, though, we could either make use of Roar as a way of removing your opponents from battle, or Toxic as a way to get poison damage on them and allow them to take increasing damage while you are pretty much able to take their hits because of your max special defense bulky and things like that. But if you are going to be using Toxic as your move, make sure you don't use Dragon Breath because then you'll have some like cross statusing going on there, because if you use Toxic you obviously want them to be poisoned, so if you use Dragon Breath on a turn or something like that and they accidentally get paralyzed where it would be more beneficial to have them poisoned, you could really be screwed up in that situation. So basically Dragon Breath goes with with Roar, and Dragon Pulse goes with Toxic. But as for your next move, it is the new move that Altaria is fortunate enough to get this generation, known as Cotton Guard, which is an amazing move that increases your physical defense by 3 stages every time you use it. So after 2 Cotton Guards, you're at your max physical defense possible with +6. And since you saw from the stats before that Altaria has some pretty good physical defense naturally, this will turn it into a ridiculous Pokemon with taking physical hits and also special hits because of your EVs in special defense. And this will definitely allow Altaria to take hits from both sides very well and be a potential Pokemon, like a go-to Pokemon to switch in on things like that, because you know that it'll be able to take some hits without worrying about it dying easily. But for your last move, we're going to be using Roost just to allow us to recover our HP up and make even better use of the Cotton Guard and the Special Defense EVs, because they won't be able to break through your constant healing from HP and your high defenses. So this is a pretty awesome set that Altaria can run this generation that really makes use of its defenses while also allowing it to either phase Pokemon or stall out with Toxic and things like that. Up next, we have a set that makes use of its new ability Cloud 9 in a pretty unique way. So first we're going to give Altaria a Modest or Timid nature depending on which item you're going to be using for this set. But Modest makes use or increases your special attack and lowers your physical attack, whereas Timid increases your speed and lowers your physical attack. As to the ability, Cloud 9 as I said, and for the EVs, we're going to put 4 into HP, 252 into special attack to give you your max special attack, and 252 into speed to give you your max speed. Now as for the item, we're either going to be making use of a Choice Scarf or Choice Specs. A Choice Scarf is probably the better option with the set, just so that you can for sure outspeed anything that will be abusing weather that your Cloud9 ability will get rid of. So Choice Scarf with Modest is my preferred set idea, but you could also go Choice Specs with a Timid Nature to outspeed a lot of other things anyways, but not everything, but at the same time having greater attack power. So it's really your choice, but I think Modest with the Choice Scarf is the better of the two options. As for the moves though, the first one is going to be a Draco Meteor, just because that's going to be your most powerful special attacking move no matter what, so that's always great. Up next we have Fire Blast, Ice Beam, and Hidden Power Grass. Now all of these moves, with the exception of Draco Meteor, just because that's a ridiculously powerful move anyways, actually you know what, that actually does apply to what I'm about to say. They were chosen mainly because of the fact that Altaria learns them, but because they all have something to counter weather abusing Pokemon. Draco Meteor, in my opinion though, is the most useful out of all of these, just because of the fact that a Kingdra with Swift Swim is one of the most deadly things you could ever encounter on a Rain Dance team. And if you're packing the Choice Scarf with a Modest Nature, you will outspeed the Kingdra and more often than not one-hit KO it with Draco Meteor. And that is something that is very, very important to get rid of if you see that your opponent is using a Choice Scarf, or sorry, not Choice Scarf, a Swift Swim Kingdra, because those things are really difficult to take out once they're on the field with rain. But up next we have Fire Blast, which is actually there to take grass-type Pokemon that abuse Chlorophyll, and also be there to counter Doryuzu, because Doryuzu is part Steel, so it is weak to Fire Blast, and because of Cloud9 again, it won't have access to its Sand Throw ability, so you will outspeed it with the Choice Scarf, not with Choice Specs, unfortunately, but still be able to do a lot of damage to it and potentially finish it off from what your opponent, or sorry, what your other Pokemon might have done damage to it in the process, or if it's using Life Orb or things like that, but it's not a one-hit KO if that's what you're wondering. And the next Ice Beam is there to also take out grass types that abuse Chlorophyll, because some of them are also grass flying, which is very weak to ice, and also, you know, you do have the option of using Ice Beam against dragons and things like that, so that's always a bonus too. And then Hidden Power Grass is there over Hidden Power Electric, mainly because of the fact that the majority of Swift Swim Pokemon, or there's a bunch of Swift Swim Pokemon that are actually 4 times weak to grass, like Omastar and the new Gamagerogue and Relicanth and things like that, because they're either Water Ground or Water Rock. Other than that, though, using Draco Meteor is probably the strongest option against them, but Hidden Power Grass is there if you have the the chance to deal a 4 times effective damage, because in that case, obviously, Hidden Power Grass will be the stronger of the moves to use. But as you can see, this set could actually be a pretty awesome counter to weather abusers in this generation. Also, as a last option, you could run a standard Altaria set with Dragon Dance while using the Cloud9 ability. However, unlike the first set, you do need that one turn of setup to allow it to be as effective as the previous one. But you should kind of be familiar with this set by now. If you're not, you could go check it out anywhere, so I'm not going to really explain it in depth too much. But basically, you set up with Dragon Dance, and then you proceed to just do a lot of damage to anything while using your attacking moves, which are Dragon Claw and Earthquake, and also keeping your HP up with Roost. But if you are wondering as well, you cannot have Outrage on the set because you're using a Gen 5 Dream World ability, so you can't use 4th Gen Move Tutor moves, which is unfortunate. But this set, unlike the previous one, also doesn't have the super effective coverage, but it does allow you to easily set up against Pokemon that would be abusing weather effects, like Swift Swim and Sand Throw and things like that, without having to really worry about any increased damage they might be dealing to you, or them outspeeding you because of their abilities. So by putting Cloud9 on a standard Altaria set, you could pretty much make it just as effective as it was before, but in any condition, because of the fact that you'll ignore the weather effects. But that's it for this video, guys, so take care and goodbye.